Welcome to another edition of Park Talk Podcast, the official podcast of the Naperville Park District. Welcome to the 2025 State of the Naperville Park District podcast series. I'm Sameera Luthman, Director of Marketing and Communications, and your podcast host. This is the first episode of the 2025 series, and I'm happy to welcome Executive Director Brad Wilson and Park Board President Mary Gibson. Welcome to you both, and thank you for joining me to introduce this year's podcast with the theme of Shaping a Sustainable Future in Parks and Recreation.
Great. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you for having us
today. It's going to be a good conversation. So the purpose of this introduction is to not only introduce some of the topics that will be explored further throughout the series, but to also take a look back to 2024 and highlight some of the district's key initiatives for 2025. So 2024 was a year filled with celebrations, and the district recognized the openings of several new amenities. All of our events were well attended, and most of last year's playground openings had really big crowds. It was unbelievable. Mary, why do you think that there's such an incredible interest in the district's playgrounds?
Yes, this year we had some really fun ribbon cuttings, which is thanks to you and your team. I think one of the biggest reasons is our social media has really taken off. And that's, again, you and your team. It's been really creative and really gotten people engaged, which is great. Those ribbon cuttings are probably one of the best parts of being the Park District president. And it's always great when we have a crowd because I get lots of helpers to hold the ribbon and those giant scissors. So I appreciate the help the social media has been bringing those crowds up.
Our pleasure.
I think another reason is we have been being more active engaging with the community when we redesign and renovate these playgrounds. We've started putting signs out at the playgrounds with QR codes.
Right.
That people can scan and find out about what's happening at the playground and take more of an active role in what amenities and features they want to see there. And I think when we do that, people have more of a feeling of ownership and inclusiveness in their neighborhood playgrounds.
Right.
And it kind of gets that community feel. So it's more of a neighborhood inclusive event when we have these big ribbon cuttings because the community themselves have had the buy-in.
Sure.
So I think that's a really great thing that, over the past 4 years, you're right, we've seen the crowds at these events really expand. And I can't believe in another podcast I'm using the word pandemic 4 years later.
Right.
But I think following 2020, people have a renewed appreciation for outdoor spaces, parks, recs, and
Gathering together.
yes,
Right.
These community events, it's community building. You meet new neighbors, you see, neighbors that you interact with more. And people have a new appreciation for Parks and Rec, and we see that across our playground openings and pretty much everything we do here at the Park District these last couple of years.
And I love that. That's been so
great.
wonderful to see.
It's really fun.
In addition to the fun stuff like ribbon cuttings, district staff spent a significant amount of time working on developing the indoor recreation space needs assessment. I know we're going to be diving much deeper into this topic in episode 6, but in a nutshell, Brad, what is the needs assessment and why is it important to the district?
Sure. Well, as you mentioned, it was a significant project. There was a significant amount of time that went into the project last year and a significant amount of community input that we received. Those who have listened to the podcast in the past may recall that last year we talked about just the tremendous growth in participation that we've seen, especially in 2022 and 2023. And as we look at even this past year, the last 2 years, 23 and 24, we've seen record program participation as well as facility participation.
Right.
And that has been great. It has been great to have so many of our residents involved and active in visiting our facilities and participating in programs. But it's also led to challenges, challenges with wait lists and accommodating all those who want to participate within programs, especially within indoor spaces. So at the Ford Hill Activity Center, our largest activity center that we have a number of challenges with meeting the needs for youth basketball programs, gymnastics. Our open gyms often fill to capacity, as well as our group fitness classes. So last year's initiative of the indoor recreation space needs assessment really was a comprehensive look at our existing facilities. How are they being used? How can we use them better? How can we increase efficiencies? And then really engaging with the community to understand what are their interests and needs for future indoor recreation space, and is there support in the community to be able to move forward with that?
Okay.
And so that's why it was such an important project for us to work through, and we got a lot of great information that's going to help shape the future of the district.
Yeah, we really did. That was the kind of the the cornerstone of it was the fact that so many residents wanted to be a part of that process.
Yes, and we heard from actually hundreds of residents throughout the course of the year who provided their input, and that was incorporated into the plan and the recommendations and what we'll be working towards.
Excellent. Another key topic we'll explore further in the series is partnerships. And this aspect was highlighted in a number of important ways in 2024. What are some of the standout examples of partnerships from last year, and how do relationships like these help facilitate what we do at the district?
Well, the Park District and the community have benefited for years from really strong community partnerships. And we have a number of intergovernmental agreements with the city of Naperville, the 2 school districts, as well as the counties, both DuPage and Will County. And beyond those agreements, just tremendous relationships with those agencies to help further the Park District's mission. In addition to that, we've also been very fortunate to work with a number of community partners to really enhance what we can provide to the community in our parks and facilities. A few examples in 2024 that are pretty significant. The Wintrust Athletic Field, the partnership that we have with Naperville Bank and Trust, in naming that athletic field at Knock Park and supporting what takes place there. Beyond that naming of the athletic field, they are also very involved in supporting a number of other aspects of the Park District and what we do, including the fee assistance program.
Right.
We celebrated the opening of the Rothermel Family Skate Facility, which was accomplished in part due to a donation from the Rothermel Family Fund of DuPage Foundation. We opened the Frank Russ Pavilion, also a result of a donation from the Frank J. Russ Trust at Knocknalls Park, a wonderful addition to that park.
It's
and
beautiful.
It is beautiful. It's a beautiful setting, a place where residents can go and really be able to be in nature and enjoy the new pavilion that is there. Naperville Little League Baseball. And we've got a great partnership with Naperville Little League Baseball. They've provided donations to convert baseball fields to synthetic turf infields at DuPage River Sports Complex in Knock Park. And we celebrated the opening of DuPage River last year. We'll celebrate the opening of Knock Park this year. And then we've also been working with them on another donation to do similar projects at Nike Sports Complex in the future. And then lastly, this past year, a partnership with DuPage County and their stormwater division really assisted with completing stormwater infrastructure projects at Stanford Meadows, Brighton Ridge, and the Riverwalk. So in each of these instances, it has helped to enhance what we're able to provide and how we're able to maintain parks in the community, furthers the Park District's mission, and ultimately benefits the residents of Naperville.
Well, and there's so many different types of partnerships too. You know, we talked about sponsors, and you've talked about Naperville Little League, and we've even talked about volunteers being an important part of the partnership at the Park District and helping us get things done.
Absolutely, and that is something that we as an organization continually focus on is how can we partner within the community and further what we're able to provide to the community.
Bridging the gap to what's planned for 2025, in addition to taking the next step with the Indoor Recreation Space Needs Assessment, the district also will be working on updates to the strategic plan and the ADA transition plan. From a board member's perspective, Mary, why are these plans so critical to the successful operations at the district?
Great question, Sam. So the strategic plan was one of the most interesting things I've participated in at the Park District as a board member. I'm not sure if the community recognizes how it happens, but we have a big meeting, leadership team, but also key members of staff from across, every part of the district. And we spend a good chunk of time over a course of a couple of days just talking about where things stand, where we want things to go, and even, advancements that seem way pie in the sky.
Right.
And then we talk about them all and how they can fit our community's needs and where they square away with what the community's asking for. It's a good way to have a roadmap of where we're going, and all cross teams work together.
It's a very dynamic process.
It is. It's really cool. Especially when you bring in more staff members, you hear ideas that I heard things I had never considered, problems that I wasn't aware of, and creative solutions. So it was really a good collaborative process. And we aim to have them every 3 years because advancements change, needs change. So it's a really important thing, of part of what we do at the district, to ensure the board and staff are on the same page about where we're going in a short 3-year term, and then we can keep revising it every 3 years. So it's just a really important way, so that way we are not just jumping at every opportunity or every problem, but we have a direction, and the community can look at where the direction is, and work with us, to make sure we're meeting their needs.
And being good stewards of everything that we have at our disposal as an organization.
Absolutely. And again, when you bring everybody together, you make sure you see every corner and every aspect. So that's great. And then the question included ADA transition as well.
Yes.
Which, it's something that's really important that we do. It's really important that our playgrounds, our parks, our facilities and programs are accessible for all of our residents. And I think, taking the time to stop and check, there's always new advancements. I go to the conferences, and there's a big exhibition hall with all the equipment and the new designs, just making sure that everybody has the opportunity to participate, and that we're addressing the barriers that might be preventing some members of our community from fully using our parks and playgrounds and programs. So universal design, play for all, these are all things that we need to take a conscious effort to address and consider. So I'm excited to be looking at the new plans for the ADA transitions.
So another big initiative, and something that the district staff and board are going to be working on throughout this year, is our CAPRA reaccreditation. And this is a process that takes place every 6 years. Understanding that this is a monumental undertaking, even just the reaccreditation process itself, why is accreditation important to our organization, and how does it benefit staff in the community?
Great question, Cap. You're right. It's, again, before becoming involved with the board, I didn't realize just how much time and effort goes into this. But it is really important, because it ensures that we're following best practices in the Parks and Rec field. One of the benefits of living in 2025 now is that we have access to what other Parks and Recreations departments are doing across the country, the world. There's organizations like CAPRA that help us ensure that we are doing things in best practice. So working with them also helps the public know that we're doing best practices. It's a stamp of approval that we are following leads of the way things should be done. And it helps staff know the right way to do things. So it's just an extra step we can take to ensure the public that we're trustworthy and that we're being effective stewards of their money and their resources.
Definitely.
It also it serves as a great self-evaluation for the organization, for us
That's a
to
great
really
point.
revisit our various policies, practices, and ensure that we're following through on all that we've put in place. So it's a great evaluation tool for the organization as well.
Sure. Yeah, I can understand that. Brad, just a few months back, the district launched the Staff-Led Inclusivity and Engagement Team. What was the impetus for this, and what kinds of initiatives will be driven by that group?
Yeah, we're excited about this team. It was developed in 2024, and it was developed to identify ways to really increase the Park District's visibility and outreach in the community, as well as identifying ways to enhance the district as really a welcoming organization. So the team is comprised of staff from multiple departments throughout the agency, of varying positions. So we have a number of frontline staff, administrative staff, so on, all coming together to have discussions around these topics. And a few of the initiatives that we will be focusing on in this coming year revolve around increasing staff training on inclusivity and customer service topics, and implementing really a district-wide training plan with that. Reviewing existing program and events using NRPA resources to be able to do that. NRPA has a number of resources that are available to organizations to be able to look at our operations, look at the programs, events that we're offering to the community, and ensuring that we're doing that in the most welcoming way possible. Enhancing the district-wide communication with staff on inclusivity and engagement topics. I talked about the district-wide staff training. This will be another way, is how can we enhance that communication of these topics with staff throughout the organization. Increasing Park District participation in community events, especially cultural events and workshops that take place. And then increasing engagement of community cultural groups to gather insights into recreational needs and interests. That will be a real important aspect for us, and is also something that came out of the indoor recreation space needs assessment
Right.
of just the changing demographics within the community. And as an organization, we need to have a good understanding as to those varying interests in the community for recreation.
Right. So we can continue to fulfill our mission based
Absolutely.
on what the community needs.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, before we wrap up our conversation, I have to ask you both my standard question. What are you most looking forward to this year, or which initiative do you believe will have the most significant impact on the community? Brad, I'll start with you.
I'll go ahead and
I
start.
think I went
Sure.
first last year, so we'll let Brad go first this year.
Very
That's
good.
fair.
Well, I think the initiative that will have the greatest impact on the district and the community moving forward is our continued work on addressing the indoor space challenges.
Right.
And really, the next steps for us is we've gone through the comprehensive assessment, and now it's a matter of working to work through the recommendations that have come out of that plan. Look at how we can improve our existing facilities. We're going to be engaging with community leaders, and we talked about partners, those various community
Right.
partners, to really talk about the assessment, the conclusions, what we heard from the community, and explore if there are partnership opportunities to help with addressing the indoor space needs that the district is seeing and the community would like to address. Looking at the Alfred Rubin Riverwalk Community Center is part of that. That is a facility, a great facility where we run a number of programs, but it presents some challenges logistically, specifically around parking with it being near the downtown area. So how do we balance that with increasing the overall use and effectiveness of that facility? Further engaging the community cultural groups, as I mentioned, and understanding those recreational interests and needs. And then really, as we look at indoor space, looking at what are potential locations within the community to be able to expand indoor recreation space and begin to address some of those wait lists and capacity issues that we're seeing with that. And then as part of that, preparing for the development of the additional indoor recreation space. And that might be through a combination of partnerships
Right.
and or community support of a future bond referendum to be able to construct that type of space and provide those recreation amenities. So that, I think, is the greatest initiative, or the initiative that's going to have the greatest impact on both the district and the community in the near term.
Well, it sounds like it's a really big deal to us and for the community, and we kind of don't know what we don't know right now, so we're still in that process, but it's exciting.
Absolutely. And as we move forward and through the course of this next year, there will be quite a bit of additional community engagement to further refine and develop that plan to be able to then move forward.
Right. Thank you. How about you, Mary? What do you think?
Well, as usual, Brad was very thorough in that answer. So I am going to say, indoor space, obviously. As a board member, one of the things I hear most from our community concerns indoor space, whether it's, directly tied to indoor space, or they don't even realize when they're reaching out about it, people can't get their kids into gymnastics.
Right.
Might not immediately seem like an indoor space need, but it is. Because,
Becomes a hot button.
right, and something like that, indoor space, that's why we can't accommodate more kids in gymnastics, because we just don't physically have the space. Pools, residents reach out a lot about indoor aquatics. So, I'm excited to continue that conversation. And as Brad said, a lot of community engagement on that. So it'll be interesting to see. It's one of my favorite parts about being a commissioner is hearing from the public on these issues. So I'm looking forward to that. And just a couple other things. Nike Park, I'm excited that we're going to be addressing some renovations at Nike Park. And we're going to get 2 new parks down in South Naperville, Polo Club Park and Fairlane Farms Park. It's pretty wild that a city like Naperville that's at near build out is still getting new parks. We had 2 last year, so we're at 138, I believe.
We're at 138 right now. We'll be at 140 by the end of this year.
40 parks and 140 parks in Naperville.
It's pretty incredible.
Yeah, when I talk to people about the park district, when I drop that number, everybody is just blown away. But when you think about it, pretty much every community here has a neighborhood park, a close community-sized park.
Which is by design.
Right,
We
right, and
want
it's
to make
intentional.
recreation accessible.
Absolutely. It's our city prioritizes that.
Right.
And I think, it shows. It's one of the things that makes Naperville one of the best cities to live in. So 2 more is pretty exciting.
That is exciting.
So,
Yeah, we'll get to celebrate that later
another
this year.
ribbon cutting.
Exactly.
Yes.
Right.
Everybody should come. They're a lot of
Bringing that
fun.
conversation full circle. Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. Well, Brad and Mary, thank you very much for helping me introduce the 2025 State of the Park District podcast. Once again, we have a lot to look forward to this year. I'm really excited about it to see how it all unfolds. And to those listening, I hope you'll take the opportunity to explore episodes 2 through 6 of the series, featuring a variety of topics highlighting the Park District and what we have planned for 2025. Happy listening, everyone. Thank you for listening. The Naperville Park District's mission is to provide park and recreation experiences that promote healthy lives, healthy minds, and a healthy community. Park Talk Podcast is a production of the Naperville Park District.